Welcome and croeso to the Clwb Pêl-droed YouTube channel. And today we have our first interview with a player slash manager who have been played in the Welsh Premier League. We have Mr. Alan Morgan, who's also assistant manager of Marine and a youth coach at Tranmere Rovers. How are you, mate?
How are you? Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'm very well, mate, and I'm looking forward to getting this started. Before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button to the channel. We've only just launched, but it'd be great to get to 100 subscribers as quick as we can. And yeah, it's great to have Alan on. So first off, mate, just talk to us about your role at the moment with Tranmere and Marine. It's the multi roles that you do.
Yeah, it's been a busy time at the moment with all this FA Cup games and obviously my role with the youth team as well. So it's been quite a hectic time. Obviously, Andy Parkinson has moved up as caretaker assistant with Ian Dawes in the first team. So I've been given the reins to carry on with the youth team.
Yeah, definitely. And well, it's a really interesting story with Marine that we'll get onto later. Of course, they're right in the headlines at the moment with the FA Cup shocks that they've been producing. But we'll get into your playing career a little bit first. So you started off at Tranmere Rovers. So how did that first come about? And obviously you're there now. So how did that first come about for you?
It was like I signed from 1990, but I was playing for Wales under 15s or 16s at the time. We played against Northern Ireland at Bellevue Rails ground. So and luckily enough, I scored in that game, and Tranmere came and watched me and asked me if I wanted to sign. So I was glad to sign, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, definitely. And you went on to make quite a few appearances, 60-odd appearances for Tranmere. What was the personal highlight for you in that respect?
Yeah, it's obviously playing the first team. I was looking forward, to the League Cup final in the year 2000 when John Aldridge was the manager. We beat a lot of Premier teams in that year. Even though I was on the bench for the final, which I was a bit disappointed with. But at the end of the day, that was a big highlight in my Tranmere career.
Yeah. You mentioned John Aldridge, obviously playing under a man who scored so many goals for Liverpool and for Oxford United. So talk to me about him. What was he like as a manager?
He let you know if you're doing well, and he let you know if you didn't play well. He was one of them that he told me exactly how it was. If I wasn't good enough, he told me. And if I played well, he told me well done. So, but he was really motivation. He's a good motivator at the time. And I played my best football under him.
Yeah, definitely. So a few spells at Altrincham, Doncaster and Morecambe preceded your first move to the Welsh Premier League. So what was the first attraction of getting you to Portsmouth?
I got in Portsmouth. I was playing. I was just left Pel-Droed. I was just before that, wasn't it? It was I went there. I was left Doncaster and I left Morecambe that summer, and I was just playing games for whoever wanted to play at the time. And then obviously I played a friendly against Colwyn Bay for Portsmouth, and I signed for him and Oshan Roberts and Even Williams.
Yeah, and obviously I think I saw you were born in Aberystwyth. Were you aware a lot of the Welsh pyramid when you first arrived?
Yeah, it's one of them where obviously coming from Aberystwyth, I've always looked out for him when it started. Obviously we played when I was coming through the ranks at Tranmere, playing in the youth team. We used to play pre-season friendlies against Connah's Quay and teams like that. So I got to know the Welsh League of Wales then, and it's one of them I've always kept an eye on, coming from Wales and being like half an hour from Aberystwyth.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned Pel-Droed as well. You had your first, obviously, stint in coaching and player manager there.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and how did you feel about sort of balancing the two roles?
It's hard. It was one of them where Steve O'Shaughnessy at the time left, and they asked me if I'd take over. And at the time, I didn't plan to go into it. It just was just take by game by game. But it was one of them where I enjoyed it, and I wanted to do my time because it was a hard job being a manager and a player. Sometimes you try to do too much on the pitch, try to sort things out, and it didn't quite work. And that was hard for me at the time, being a player manager.
Yeah, and obviously now you're balancing roles as well. Would you say that back then it was a little bit harder than now, or would you say vice versa?
I think harder then, but it's still, being a player manager, I think is a hard role. It's a hard role because you're at the end of the day, you're going on the pitch, you're one of the lads, but you're also a manager of it. So it's hard. I praise people who've done it, who've succeeded being a player manager, because it's a very, 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 very hard job. Sometimes you take your problems onto the pitch and it's not a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously spells with Rill and Quay, and then Bangor before you retired. How difficult was it for you to hang up your boots?
I got injured in my last year at Tranmere. It was a Wednesday before start of the season. We just did a pattern play, 11v11, and I just went over on my ankle, and my studs pointed up to the air behind me. So all the ligaments were knackered, and one was hanging on by 15%, but all the rest was just weren't in anymore. So it just when I wasn't the same player. My game was all about getting around the pitch, putting my tackles in, and getting the ball back. But I wasn't the same player, and I was getting frustrated. So, and sometimes I was getting sent off here and there because I was getting frustrated and I wasn't getting there like I used to. So, but at the end of the day, it was one of them where decision. I thought, right, it's time to come away. And I was enjoying the coaching side of it and being part of the management side, and I enjoyed it. And and I still get the same buzz being on the side winning games as I was when I was playing.
Yeah, so we mentioned earlier that you're obviously from Aberystwyth, and your first managerial spell was with Aberystwyth. When that opportunity came about, did you think, oh, this is sort of a match made in heaven in that respect?
Yeah, Aberystwyth was where I was from. I've always wanted to management, but it was just one of them. I had 3 years there, which successfully very struggling at the start, and we ended up being like a Welsh Cup final away from being in Europe, where it was Bangor and Port Talbot at the time, and Bangor won it, and the team I've just left won it, and it made them go into Europe and made Aberystwyth missed out.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but that would have been a mighty achievement. And then obviously Llandudno. I do apologise for any pronunciation if I ever do anything wrong.
Right.
That's probably the spell you're most known for in Welsh football. So talk to me about that. I mean, winning the second tier, the Alliance Premiership. How was that in terms, and how did that feel?
That was brilliant. We went in. But I went in December. They were bottom of a huge grey, and I knew a potential club, and I knew the club had gained their licenses to be promoted. So that was a thing that I liked. I went down there, obviously spoke to Dos Montgomery and Clive Rushton, who were chairman at the time. I just felt, I wanted it. Went down for an interview, and luckily enough, they gave me a job, being a manager, and I really, really enjoyed my time there. It just went from we first planned to stay in the league, then to get in the top 5, and then the year we won it, the plan was to get in the top 3. Then hopefully the year after look for promotion. But we did it a year before I expected, but the players I had who were tremendous at the time, it was down to them at the end of the day.
Yeah, and was it something that, when you were promoted, the celebrations, was that like a reminder that all the building that you had done before was worth it in that respect?
Yeah, at the end of the day, Llandudno never been in the Welsh Prem, And it melts so much looking at the board members, the chairman, Dos Montgomery, who did everything at the time at the club, was just tremendous. Her and Clive Rushen, and seeing Grant Montgomery there as well, who've been at Llandudno for years and years, and seeing their pride on their faces, seeing their club being promoted was massive.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously after leaving Llandudno, you went to Clwb Pêl, your last time that you're actually in the Welsh system so far. So tell us about that opportunity. How did it come about, and how do you feel it went?
Yeah, just before that time, obviously, before I did go to join, we got into the Welsh Prem, didn't we? And we ended up in Europe.
Yeah.
And that was a massive, massive achievement by the club. First year in the Welsh Prem, we come third and ended up being in Europe. Obviously with Neil Sheldon, Grant Montgomery, Clive Rushton, Russ Austin, everyone. It was a big, massive thanks for them, really, for giving me the opportunity, and hopefully I replayed them by getting the club into Europe. And it was the best. If you say to me, what's my best management time, to date, at the time, Marine is pushing it really close at the moment, but still getting Llandudno into Europe and playing IFK Gothenburg, which was amazing. And you just said then about my time when I left there, went to Clwb Pêl. It was just, they came in for me before when I was a Llandudno manager, and I turned them down. But obviously, when I got let go, they got on the phone and asked me to be their manager.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about the Gothenburg game, it's sort of you've managed in the same competition. Being in Europe, you're not managing in the same competition as some of the managerial greats. So who in particular in your managerial career have you aspired to be, and in your coaching career, have you aspired to sort of get over to be like in that respect?
It was, I end of the day, being a manager, taking Llandudno to Europe was a massive achievement. But if you said to me, a manager I've always liked Klopp, I've always liked, Guardiola, Mourinho at the time, and managers like that is, but they're the top coaches, top managers, and it was just a massive for Llandudno to play against IFK Gothenburg. They have won the UEFA Cup or Europa League, and it was just massive, just being drawn, against them. It was just massive.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was a massive moment. So taking the trip across the border, so Marine, we'll talk about them first. This unbelievable FA Cup run that they're going on. Just talk to me. What's it been like behind the scenes at the club, going through this absolutely surreal achievements that you've been doing?
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's getting bigger and bigger towards, to a game we've got on the 28th of this month. But it started, you can see when we played Chester away, it was Neil Young's old club, him going back, Chester away, not many people give us a chance. And, and we went there with a game plan and won it. And then you go, wow, we're in the first round proper.
Yeah.
Obviously the teams that obviously I work for Tranmere were in the draw. Salford, we got a couple of lads from Salford, they were in the draw, and it was just starting to get wow. And obviously we've got Colchester, who are doing really well in League Two. And, we went down there with a game plan. The players were unreal on the day. And, it was the first round as well that extra time came into it. So, and everything was, Colchester away, first round, the extra time and penalties, and we were going, wow, and to achieve what we did on that day was unbelievable.
Yeah, and obviously being involved in football at this sort of level, finances are so important. And what can you just tell what will this mean for Marine, like in terms of their long-term future, especially in a time where everyone's worrying about that?
Yeah, it's with today's climate is not brilliant. For clubs, for little clubs, no fans. We're lucky enough to have fans in our league, but in the FA Cup now against Havant and Waterloo, well, we won't be able to have fans cheering us on. And chairmans and in each club, even from the Premiership down, everyone's looking over their shoulder, finances and stuff like that. It's hard. Doesn't matter what level, money you can bring into the club will only help. And the club as well, Marine's always been known as a well-run club, a happy club. But at the end of the day, they've got no fans coming in the FA Cup, where if we had done this 2 years ago, it'd be a lot more money coming in because of the finances are different then. But we'll take every pound that comes in. It'll be a massive help to the club.
Yeah, definitely. And finally, obviously, Tranmere Rovers completing the full circle almost in that respect. So how did it feel to go back to the club that you came through at? And was it, again, sort of a match made in heaven?
Yeah, people know me. I've Tranmere through and through. Since 1990 day, I walked in as a white guest. To now, I've most probably had about 24 months away from a club. So I've been there a long time, and seeing a club going down to a non-league, to a conference was hard because, Tranmere shouldn't be there. But we've climbed up, and unfortunately last season, of circumstances, the way the league finished, we've got to bounce back, and and hopefully now we can start going back to where we belong.
Brilliant. So thank you very much, Alan, for joining us. It's been a real pleasure chatting through all things Welsh football. So yes. in terms of the future, will we be seeing you back in the Welsh system in the future, do you think?
Never know in football. You never know. Hopefully I've got done some good jobs in Wales football, even at Aberystwyth. When I went in, when I left, the club were in a far better position, and hopefully the same with Llandudno. But you never know in football. Football 1 minute, people forget about you, and next thing there's a little spark, or someone will think of something and go, "Wow, a Marine run that in the FA Cup." You're still knocking around somewhere. I'm not retiring, that's for sure. You never know in football. If you take, like I've said to Marine, you take one game at a time, because even though we're on a high at the moment, it can kick you where it hurts, and then you back down there. So we've got to keep being level-headed, being humble, and enjoy what you've been. I've never ever will shut borders with Wales, League of Wales, that's for sure. It's the first league. I look for in the results, and even the Cymru Leagues, and I'll always look at their leagues as well, even though they haven't started this season yet. But hopefully we can get over this monster that the world's having at the moment, and we can come out stronger and fighter and be positive and look for a brighter future.
Yeah, definitely. Very wise words, Alan. Thank you very much. And yeah, make sure again to subscribe to the Clwb Pêl-droed YouTube channel. Check out our website and socials below, and we will see you in the next video.